There is a kind of success that looks perfect from the outside. It checks all the boxes: admiration, stability, recognition, but hidden within its shine is a silence, a cost that doesn't appear on spreadsheets or resumes. This success is often celebrated, even envied, yet it asks for something in return that no applause can compensate for: the quiet abandonment of the self. Many pursue it diligently. They follow the rules, build impressive paths, and gather achievements as proof of their worth. But somewhere along the way, without even realizing it, something essential begins to slip away. It doesn't vanish all at once. It erodes slowly. Your sense of inner alignment, your honest reflection in the mirror. What once felt like a life now starts to feel like a role being played with great precision, but no joy. Modern life hands us templates, prescribed definitions of what it means to be someone. These models appear functional, even attractive. Get the job, build the image, stay on track. But the moment you step into one of these molds without asking whether it fits your soul, the risk begins. Because even when the world tells you you've made it, you may find yourself feeling like a stranger in your own skin. The misalignment is subtle. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It hides behind the smile you wear at meetings, behind the praise you nod at politely, behind the agreements you make while silencing your own instincts. Outwardly, everything might seem right, but inside, something quietly aches. Not a dramatic crisis, more like a slow unthreading of who you really are. You can continue walking with this feeling for years, and the world will reward you for it. It will pat your back, offer you promotions, reassure you that you're on the right track. But there is a loneliness that grows when your life no longer belongs to you. When your days are filled with actions that don't reflect your truth, when you've become fluent in performing but silent in being, and here's the catch: nobody notices because you're still functioning. You're still producing, delivering, achieving. You remain what the world calls successful, but inside, a quiet question begins to rise: is this it? This video is not an answer, it's an invitation. Not to abandon your journey, but to pause honestly, courageously, and ask yourself if you're still on your own path, or just living a well-polished imitation. What's so dangerous about drifting from yourself is that it doesn't feel like an emergency. It feels like compromise. It feels like maturity. It feels like doing what needs to be done. But over time, those small compromises collect, and eventually, they weigh more than you thought they would. You start to feel the gap when you sit alone in the quiet, when no one is watching, and there's no one to impress. You begin to sense a disconnect, a gap between the life you're living and the one your soul is still waiting for. The world is full of noise, expectations, metrics, deadlines, likes, but none of it replaces the peace that comes from inner clarity, that deep sense that your choices reflect your values, that your voice is your own, that your days feel like your life, not a script someone else handed you. There's a big difference between living a life and performing one. Many people, maybe even you, have gotten so good at their performance that they've forgotten where the performance ends and the person begins. When you show up at work, do you feel seen, or just used? When you're with your family, are you present, or playing a role you no longer connect to? When you look in the mirror, do you recognize the person there, or just adjust the mask a little more tightly? This isn't a theory, it's not abstract. It shows up in your daily behaviors, the way you modify your language to be more acceptable, the way you suppress your reactions to avoid conflict, the way you smile even when something inside you is cracking. You're not lying exactly, you're just editing, constantly, and editing your truth is exhausting. You build relationships based on a version of yourself you've curated, one that performs well, pleases others, looks reliable. But the more those relationships grow, the lonelier you feel, because deep down, you know they don't really see you. How could they? You've hidden the most vital parts of who you are, and maybe the scariest realization of all is this: you might not know yourself anymore either. That disconnection doesn't happen overnight. It's gradual. It begins with a few swallowed frustrations, a few silences when you had something real to say, a few yeses you gave when your whole being wanted to say no. At first, it feels like adaptation, but over time, it becomes erasure. You wake up one day and feel like a spectator to your own life. Everything keeps moving, but something inside you has stopped. And the hardest part, no one around you notices, because from the outside, you're still playing the part well. You're still responsible, still impressive, still functional. The applause doesn't stop, but your soul is starving. This hunger shows up as anxiety without a clear cause, as restlessness you can't explain, as a fatigue that sleep doesn't fix. You may have achieved so much, but you feel less alive than ever. And here's the uncomfortable truth: if you keep performing, you'll eventually forget how to be. This is the danger of success that costs too much. When you trade pieces of yourself for approval, for acceptance, for certainty, you may win the world but lose your own center. And when that happens, you're not living. You're maintaining, surviving, existing in a life that no longer nourishes you. So what now? It begins with a pause, a brutally honest pause, not to collapse, but to recenter, to ask yourself, who is this person I've become? And what did I leave behind to become them? The point isn't to reject everything you've built. It's to examine whether it reflects who you really are, whether your life is still a home for your soul, or just a display case. You've been told your whole life that success is the goal, but no one told you it could become a trap, that the path you were taught to follow might lead you far from yourself, that the trophies you earned might sit next to an emptiness you can't name. So let's name it. This is what disconnection looks like in real life, in the small decisions you make every day, choosing what sounds right instead of what feels true, avoiding discomfort at the cost of honesty, staying silent because your truth might disrupt the peace, editing yourself into a more acceptable version again and again. You don't lose yourself all at once. You lose yourself in fragments, one concession at a time. Pay attention to your energy, not just your productivity, but your vitality. Do your days leave you feeling alive or merely efficient? Are you drained because you're working hard, or because you're working against yourself? Emotional numbness is another sign. Life begins to blur. You stop feeling deeply, even about things that once moved you. Your highs are muted, your lows detached. You start calling this normal. It's not. You begin to adapt to everything, but belong nowhere. You become whoever the situation requires, until you don't know who you are when no one is watching. Silence becomes unbearable, not because it's quiet, but because in the quiet, there's no one left to perform for, and you don't know how to just be. But if you're feeling this, there's good news. That feeling of misalignment is your compass. It's the part of you that hasn't given up. It's the signal that something real is still alive in you. So how do you return? It begins with presence, radical presence. Set aside the noise, just for a moment. No phones, no deadlines, no external input, just you and the silence you've been avoiding. At first, it will be uncomfortable, but that discomfort is the doorway back to yourself. Then, begin to speak with your own soul again. Through writing, through stillness, through rituals that ask nothing of you but honesty. Write without a filter, walk without a destination, say no when you mean it. Let your will be heard even in small ways. These are not dramatic acts, but they are revolutionary. They tell your inner self, I remember you, I'm listening, I'm ready to return. Start being honest progressively, not to hurt, but to heal. Express the truth in small doses. Tell a friend what you really think. Admit when something doesn't feel right. Choose alignment over approval, even in small moments. Every time you do, you reclaim a part of yourself. But be prepared. Living honestly will disappoint some people. Those who were comfortable with your silence may not welcome your voice. Those who benefited from your performance may resist your authenticity. Let them, because the cost of keeping everyone else comfortable is your own disintegration. And that is too high a price to pay for anyone's comfort. The real transformation begins when you are willing to disappoint others rather than betray yourself. When your loyalty shifts from appearances to integrity. You will lose things, maybe even people, but what remains will be real, and new connections will form, not with who you pretended to be, but with who you actually are. This is not the end. This is the beginning of a new way of being. True success is not applause, not status, not the absence of conflict. It is waking up and recognizing yourself. It is peace without performance. It is knowing that your life is your own, so here we are. At the end, which is really the start, not with formulas, not with guarantees, but with a quiet, steady decision to come back to yourself, to stop pretending, to start listening, to rebuild. Not a perfect life, but an honest one. Because in the silence of your own soul, far from the noise of the world, you will find the one thing you've been missing all along, yourself. And there, real life begins. Individuation is the process by which an individual becomes distinct and integrated, moving beyond the collective norms to embrace their unique identity. Jung described it as the development of the psychological individual as a being distinct from the general, collective psychology. This journey often begins with a crisis or a sense of dissatisfaction with the roles we've been playing. It's a call from the unconscious, urging us to explore the parts of ourselves we've neglected or repressed. Encountering the shadow, a critical step in individuation, is confronting the shadow, the unconscious aspects of our personality that we deny or ignore. Jung emphasized that recognizing and integrating the shadow is essential for personal growth. He stated, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. By acknowledging our shadow, we become more whole, understanding that we are a complex amalgamation of light and dark, strengths and weaknesses." The role of the persona is the mask we present to the world, shaped by societal expectations and norms. While it's necessary for social interaction, over-identification with the persona can lead to a loss of authenticity. Jung warned against this, noting that the danger is that people become identical with their personas. Individuation requires us to peel back this mask and reconnect with our true selves, even if it means facing discomfort or disapproval from others. The anima and animus within each individual lies: the anima, the feminine aspect in men, and the animus, the masculine aspect in women. Integrating these aspects leads to a more balanced and complete self. This integration allows us to understand and harmonize the different facets of our personality, leading to greater self-awareness and authenticity. The self, the goal of individuation, the culmination of individuation, is the realization of the self, which represents the totality of the psyche, encompassing both conscious and unconscious elements. Jung saw the self as the central archetype of order and meaning, guiding us towards wholeness. Achieving this state means living in harmony with our inner nature, making choices aligned with our true desires and values. Practical steps towards individuation: self-reflection. Regular introspection helps us understand our motivations, fears, and desires. Journaling, meditation, or therapy can facilitate this process. Dream analysis. Jung believed that dreams provide insights into the unconscious. Paying attention to dreams can reveal hidden aspects of ourselves. Creative expression. Engaging in art, music, or writing allows us to express parts of ourselves that might not surface in daily life. Setting boundaries. Learning to say no and establishing personal boundaries is crucial for maintaining authenticity and self-respect. Embracing solitude. Spending time alone helps us reconnect with our inner world, free from external influences. Challenges on the path. The journey of individuation is fraught with challenges. We may face resistance from those who prefer the familiar version of us. There might be periods of confusion, loneliness, or doubt. However, these difficulties are part of the transformation, leading us to a more authentic and fulfilling life. The reward, a life of authenticity. By committing to the path of individuation, we move towards a life that reflects our true selves. We become more resilient, self-aware, and capable of forming deeper connections with others. As Jung aptly put it, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. In embracing this journey, we don't just find ourselves, we create a life that resonates with our deepest truths, leading to genuine fulfillment and inner peace.